Wolves fall to defeat in Girona. They lost 2-1 tonight in Girona, and generally there was a few positives and quite a lot of negatives again, I have to say. Now, initially, the press looked decent at the start of the game. I thought Wolves got into the game quite well, looked quite intense in terms of their press, got on the ball a fair bit, and you noticed that sort of Totti and Bueno and just generally all the centre-backs were really in the Girona half, and it looked like a really promising start to the game, and I did think that we were going to see some really good intensity, but it kind of died off for the last probably half an hour, to be honest, of the first half, maybe the last 20 minutes, and generally it just wasn't that great. Now, João Gomez, by the way, what an unbelievable footballer he is. He just glides past players, he's strong in the tackle, glides past players, he's so smart, and I thought he was absolutely brilliant tonight, to be honest. Now, for Girona, Yasser Asprilla, what a player. Obviously, he used to play for Watford, and generally he was absolutely sublime. I thought he was really, really good. Sigankov as well, obviously the Ukrainian player. I thought he was absolutely exceptional. He's had a really good few years for Girona now, especially when he used to link up with Artem Dovbyk, having that Ukrainian connection at Girona before he left for Roma. But generally, I thought Girona were really sort of underwhelming for most parts. In the first half, though, it felt like they were just sort of feeling Wolves out, really, and growing into the game. And obviously, at the end of the first half, Wolves ended the first half without a shot on target, which is absolutely ludicrous in itself in 45 minutes of football. And that was sort of the issue with the night, really. Keanu Herver's one that's getting a lot of flack, and I feel like he's one of the easy people to target. He always is. It feels like he's one of them players that people are always going to throw under the bus first before anyone. And I'm not saying he had an unbelievable game, but he gets into the right areas, and defensively he was pretty suspect. But in terms of getting into the right areas and getting the ball into the box, he's really good at that. It's just when you're playing in this system, you need those wing backs / fullbacks to have that relationship with the number 9, and he just doesn't. Ultimately, he puts the ball in low and hard. He did it at Stoke. He did it at Auxerre. His best deliveries are the ones when they're whipped and driven across the ground. Whereas Larsson's someone that operates best sort of in the air and that mid-range, really. And someone that also, equally, a lot of Herver's crosses are quite predictable. And I think we sort of saw that as well tonight. And I think Girona nullified him pretty well. In terms of defensively, he was there to be got at 100%. I'm not saying he was unbelievable again. But equally, again, I still feel that he's massively been put to the sword by people wrongly, in my opinion, as well. I think when you look at the goals, Bueno makes the mistake in the build-up for one of the goals, the second goal, sorry. Actually, no, it's the first goal, sorry. He makes a mistake in the build-up, doesn't win the tackle. They both sort of, I don't really think both of them know what's going on, to be honest. They recycle the ball. Asprilla plays it out. The ball's whipped to the back post. Herrera ghosts in past both Herver and Bueno. And to be fair, Bueno's one of them. I just don't get why he hasn't gone with his head. And also, I think he's positioned himself so poorly for a cross that was ultimately always going to be aimed in at that back post. And generally, I just thought he had a really poor game, personally. The second goal is, of course, an outrageous goal from Roca. But again, Bueno's nowhere to be seen. He doesn't go anywhere near him to close him down. And he's absolutely miles away, allowing him the space to ultimately curl it in the top corner. And then, obviously, John Arias comes on. Now, the 5 subs did change the game a lot, in my personal opinion. I thought John Arias was absolutely brilliant. He takes his goal so well. João Gomez in the build-up again, absolutely brilliant. And for me, João Gomez has been Wolves' most consistent player and easily the best player across pre-season, in my personal opinion. And as I say, John Arias, £5.5 million on Fantasy Premier League, by the way. If you're not investing in that, I don't know what to say. But John Arias was a massive bright spark. I was worried when he sort of got a knock. I was worried he was going to go off and that was going to be Wolves' luck, but ultimately it didn't. I thought Mosquera, considering he's had no minutes in pre-season so far, looked really, really sharp as well. I was really impressed with him. And yeah, on the opposite side as well, Rodrigo Gomez, very much a similar sort of thing, really. Didn't offer much threat. Probably had a somewhat better game than Herver, but again, the attacks were focused down that side where Bueno and Herver were, so we didn't see that too much. We probably did for the first 15 minutes. Gomez was got at a few times, but generally we didn't see too much of that throughout the game. And overall, yeah, it's an underwhelming performance. Wolves need 4 or 5 more bodies, in my opinion. I think, if I had to guess, I think they'll get 4 more through the door before the end of the window. And I know that's very optimistic, and I know there's going to be a lot of pessimistic fans on it again tonight, and rightly so, because, again, it wasn't an inspiring performance, absolutely not. And Vitor Pereira looked really, really sort of animated and frustrated at the performance, but that's my sort of take on it. I want to know your takes as well. Let me know what you thought about the game, what you thought about individual performances, perhaps who your man of the match was as well. For me, it was João Gomez. Obviously, John Arias would have been the man of the match if he was on for the full second half, to be honest. I thought he was absolutely outstanding when he did come on. Let me know what you think, Wolves fans, in the comments. Be sure to like this video, share it on Twitter, share it with your friends. All my links to Twitter and TikTok are in the description as well. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel, because we are nearly at 2,000 subscribers. We're about 300 350 away, I think. So that is the aim before the start of the Premier League season. It is going to be a big ask, but I'm sure we can do it. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that the performances start to pick up going into the season. Hopefully that starts at Celta Vigo on the 9th, and I'll see you in the next one.